Saturday, 6 August 2022. Here in my place, it's just about a few minutes before midnight. And in this edition of This and That and What a Fuck, there's a few things that we should all take note of and think about. That's all I'm asking. Think about these things. I try to bring the stuff to you that is not available in the MSM. The things that slips by without the bulk of the West not even seeing it. And I think that that is one of the big problems that we have, is the absolutely insane filtering of information. But that's the world that we live in, and we don't have much power to change it. Those that change it are the people, I don't want to say like me, but the independent guys that bring news and news snippets to you that you don't see as a rule in the media that is freely available. And I'm going to start with Viktor Orban. He was at the meeting in Texas, a gathering there in Texas, and I listened to a few videos with pieces of his speech in, and he made a number of really strong, sensible statements. And in one of his paragraphs, he said, "The globalists can all go to hell. I have come to Texas." And he made a lot of mentions to the things that, and I don't want to say conservative people, I'm going to say decent people talk about. Family values, immigration. And one of his statements that he made that was for me extremely potent. And he said that it is not about racism, it is about cultural differences. And when I read that, I just had to shake my head, because I have never thought about it like that. Yes, in many of my Skidmarks and Briekmerke, I have talked about the importance of culture and the reality of cultural differences. But I never thought of putting that two together. Those two, racism and cultural differences. I think that is important for us to take note of. And then he said this, emphasis on traditional values. The family should have one man, dad, one woman, mom, and leave the children alone. That is a powerful statement that he made. He also said things like, we need less drag queens and more Chuck Norris. And obviously the people had a good laugh about that, and he was cheered on. But he is a guy that is fighting a lonely battle in the EU. And there are a lot of forces working against him there. But I do believe that he will prevail. He's the voice of sanity. And with what is currently going on in the EU, that EU community will very soon realize that Viktor Orban had the right idea. And what he did for Hungary was what their leaders should have done for their country. And he said this, there will never be peace in Ukraine without negotiations between Russia and the United States. The future of the West, according to Orban, is a big question. There has not been such a crisis as it is now for a long time. Trump is in solidarity with him, or Orban is in solidarity with Trump. Who knows? And then a reminder of this statement that Putin made, and he made this statement at the SPIEF conference. They should have realized they had already lost from the very beginning of our special military operation, because its beginning also meant the start of a fundamental breakdown of the American world order. And this is a topic that I will do some Skidmarks on. Things are changing, and they are, in certain places it is changing fast, and it seems to me the collective West is fast asleep. And then this is just a little bit of information. The first Russian railway tourist train left Moscow for Belarus. Several huge shower cabins, even more small ones, 2 SV cars, a 7-compartment, a staff car with compartment for passengers with limited mobility. The train will split up on the way. Some of the passengers will travel on the route to Grodno, the other to Brest. In Minsk the train will connect and the train will go back to Moscow. The route is designed for 4 days and 3 nights. Yes, I went, after I saw this, I went and I looked on the map, on the Google Maps. It is a hell of a distance, but that is a hell of a country. I don't think the average guy in the West understands how big Russia really is. And then there is this thing that I picked up, and this is not news. It's actually philosophical. A man slaughtered a big cow, lit the grill and said to his daughter, "Call our loved ones and neighbors to eat with us, let us feast." His daughter took to the street and started shouting, "Please help us put out a fire at my dad's house." After a few moments, a small group of people came out and the rest acted like they didn't hear the cries for help. Those who came ate and drank until swollen. The stunned father turned to his daughter and said to her, "I don't know any of the people who came. I have never seen them before. Where are our loved ones, family and colleagues?" The daughter said, "These people came out of their homes to help us put out a fire in our house, not for the party. These are the ones who deserve our generosity and hospitality." Conclusion: those who won't help you during your struggle shouldn't eat with you at your victory party. Something to think about. And then this one. And Nancy Pelosi has single-handedly caused a hell of a lot of issues for the people of Taiwan. Issues that should never have been on the table. Those people in Taiwan is going to suffer. What really makes me the bliksem in is that none of the Western media showed the protests against Pelosi's visit in Taiwan. But in any case, that island is in deep trouble. Apple tells Taiwan supplier to comply with China's labeling rules. Now I'm not going to read the whole thing, I'm just going to give you this. Must be labeled as being made either in Taiwan, China or Chinese Taipei. Labels such as made in Taiwan could cause customs hold-ups, fines and even shipments being rejected. And that is how it's beginning. And the US does not consider it necessary to correct the mistakes after Pelosi visit Taiwan. We don't want a crisis, we are not looking for a crisis, and frankly there is no reason for a crisis to break out of this, John Kirby said during a briefing for journalists. 3 times guess who he blamed for the increase in tension. China, Russia, aliens. And this remark that this Kirby made here is a reflection of the arrogance of the Americans. Not the Americans, the cabal from the shithouse. And now we are in the UK. UK migrant crossings daily record for 2022. Nearly 700 migrants have made the journey across the channel on Monday, surpassing April's record 651. The UK Ministry of Defence has confirmed 70 more were held by French authorities on the same day. I can say a lot about this. You can read the rest. The bottom line is, Liz Truss is looking for shit with China and with Russia, but they cannot keep migrants on rubber ducks away from their beaches. And what is insightful here is that the UK Ministry of Defence is reporting these numbers. I don't know if the British realise what is really happening to their country. I saw a tweet the other day where a guy said that what will happen to us if these migrants on one specific morning rise up, but that UK government, they don't care about the people. And now we're in Ukraine, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, you can stop it, and this is some really bad shit. He was about 18 years old, we cut off his heels and forced him to swim across the river. A foreign mercenary, Benjamin Velcro, told about the atrocities against a Russian prisoner of war. An American who fought on the side of Kiev, resigned from the armed forces of Ukraine, got drunk and began to confess to war crimes online. It is absolutely sickening, the things that this guy posted online. And all I'm going to say, if you support Zelensky, you are supporting this type of thing. Kiev promised Berlin not to transfer to third persons and not to export the German weapons transfer to it. Ukraine undertakes not to export weapons temporarily or permanently, partially, completely, or in an established condition, or otherwise transfer them to third parties. What the fuck is that? I am stunned and basically speechless. They know that those guys in Kiev is selling weapons on the black market. They know it. I saw an article earlier today where they reckon only around about 30% of whatever the West is sending to Kiev reaches the front line. The other 70% disappears into the weapons smuggling networks of the world. Then this next one. It's time to admit that I was wrong. On August 5, 2021, Zelensky said that for those who consider themselves Russian, it is a big mistake to stay in the Donbass, and the region will never be Russian. A year passed, Russia came and began to restore what Kiev had been methodically destroying for 8 years. So the most grandiose political forecast of our time has not been fulfilled. Yes, something to think about. Europe artificially delays 8 billion in financial aid to Kiev. The president of Ukraine said that he daily reminds the EU that because of their indecision, people who depend on these payments suffer. And such an artificial delay is either a crime or a mistake. It is still unknown which is worse. We believe that this is a mistake and it will be corrected. Well, it is my opinion that Zelensky's time is up. There was that report from the human rights movement, which was damning, and then there was reports coming out from Germany about criminality actions that Zelensky was committing or directly involved with. It is my personal feeling that this guy, the sand is running out of the hourglass for him. Now, look at what he says about the billions that he wants from the EU. Exactly a year ago, the Foreign Ombudsman, Taras Kremen, said that everyone who does not like the oppression of the Russian language in Ukraine will go to other countries. And they went. However, they took with the Ukrainian regions. I found that absolutely so amusing. And the guy that wrote this is clever. And still in the Ukraine, Biden administration to announce a $1 billion weapon package for Ukraine, the single largest so far, according to Reuters. The Americans just don't listen and they don't learn. And then Zelensky. Zelensky accused the EU of artificially delaying 8 billion euros in aid to Ukraine. You can read the article if you want to. Another is crying about money. And it is big money. And more Zelensky. Meanwhile, yesterday's superhero calls the delay in delivering a promised 8 billion euros a new stab in the back to Ukraine. Zelensky accuses Europe. Now 8 billion euros in aid have slowed down. Either it is a crime or it is a mistake. This guy, the West has had enough of him. And now we're in the US. The Taliban cast doubt on US al-Zawahiri death claims. Top Al-Qaeda officials were unaware their leader was hiding in Kabul, and an investigation is underway to verify American claims a missile strike killed him, a spokesman has said. And in one of my previous Skidmarks, I did show that, and it was a what the fuck moment of the conflicts. This guy was reported dead twice. And then we get to this one. I'll tell you what the constitutional crisis is. 22 million illegal aliens living in America and utilizing benefits they never contributed to and voting illegally. Yes, this is real. The Americans has got a huge problem with those immigrants. A huge problem. I don't know how they're going to handle it. And then we come to South Africa. Johannesburg. West Village is the third West Rand community to raid and torch the belongings of illegal miners. Residents are blaming Zamazamas for rising crime levels in their areas. I find it disturbing because this is a serious issue, the illegal miners. But the South African government must take full responsibility for this. This has been mentioned in the press for a long time, but there are strong rumors of police involvement in the Zamazamas and politicians involved with the Zamazamas and even mining houses involved. They buy the mine gravel or the gold from the Zamazamas because it's cheaper than to mine it themselves. But this thing is gonna get very ugly, I think. And then we come to that moment, that what a fuck moment. And look at that image. And Russia, Germany, Japan, China and France. Beautiful modern trains. And then you look at that photograph of the United States train. And a friend of mine that lives in America said to me, yeah, but rail is not important to them because the distances are too big. Well, I don't agree. How nice would it be for you to take a high-speed train from the East Coast to the West Coast? It must just be great in any case. The fact of the matter is, the American club living in the shithouse are pissing the money of the taxpayers out like now with all those billions sent to Ukraine. And just in a few articles back I mentioned another 1 billion arms package to Ukraine. That is how it works in America. And the American taxpayers, they just pay. Because if all the money that America has spent in wars has been spent in America, America would have been a super modern place with unbeatable infrastructure. Instead, basically, all the main arteries are falling apart. Bridges are crumbling, roads are crumbling, because there's no money for it. Immigrants flow over the rivers into America unchecked, because America cannot protect its southern border. I'm out of words for what is going on in America, but it's late. It was a great rugby game. The Bokke won, and people are happy about it. And there was a lot of braai vleis done in South Africa tonight. So, please like, subscribe, share, and have a great evening.